Merhaba, bugün Fenerbahçe'nin yeni teknik direktörü Jorge Jesus'la ilgili konuşacağız. Benimle beraber gazeteci ve televizyoncu Zach Löwy, Jorge Jesus hakkında görüşlerini ve bilgilerini aktaracak bize. Zach, thank you very much for your time.
Yep, of course.
Let's talk about Jorge Jesus. He had a very highly successful spell with Benfica for 6 seasons. Why did he leave Benfica in 2015?
I believe he had an offer from Sporting to join. I remember there was something like he had some family history. He wanted to go back to like his club, but it was a very controversial decision to leave Sporting, to leave Benfica for their crosstown rival, obviously. And at the end of the day, Benfica ended up winning the next 2 league titles with Rui Vitória, and Jorge Jesus didn't win any league title.
Right, and why did he choose to go abroad first time in 2018 and especially in 2019 to work with Flamengo?
I believe he went to the Middle East before Flamengo.
Right.
But I think that was probably more just about money than anything. So yeah, Flamengo. I think that we're seeing a lot more, Portuguese coaches going to Brazilian clubs. So I can't say it was that much of a surprise. But I think that was very good for his career because he really dominated at Flamengo. He did a fantastic job there, and it got to the point where he could essentially be he could have his stock very high up again.
I know he was back with Benfica in 2020. The team heavily invested into the squad after the start of his second spell with Benfica. What happened in the 1 year and a half at Benfica, because he departed in last December? What was the main issue this time with the Benfica?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes teams just don't work out. And I think that, like the first season, we saw that, I think a lot of different factors in the first season. One, losing in the Champions League to PAOK, it was a massive disappointment for sure. We also saw just, finishing a distant third in the league. And so, yeah, also I think that a lot of the signings that they brought in just did not work out. But yeah, the next season we saw a little less investment, but still Benfica signing a lot of players that he wanted to sign, like João Mario and Roman Yaremchuk. Benfica started off very well. I believe they won each of their first 7 matches in all competitions. They beat Barcelona, and they were top of the league. But at the end of the day, I think that that was always going to be. I think that the better team, the 2 best teams, as we've seen here, are Porto and Sporting. And I think that they have modern coaches. I don't really consider Jorge Jesus a modern coach.
Why don't you consider him a modern coach? What's the reason?
I feel like there are a lot of different times where, in terms of his attitude, in terms of how he works with young players. I remember this Brazilian kid, Pedrinho, came from Brazil, and he was a very young kid, and and he barely played, and yet Jorge Jesus was always trying to blame him for stuff, and so I thought it was kind of ridiculous. So yeah, stuff like that. That he did kind of get into some controversy recently by saying that I would be happy to go back to Flamengo, but I can only wait a few days. So I think that was considered very in poor taste by a lot of people, because you're basically saying unless you fire this coach, so I'm not going to come. So I can definitely, I can definitely see that. So there are a lot of different reasons, but I also think that that at the end of the day, Jorge Jesus, he tried to find the right balance with this back three. I think that there was some success, but after Lucas Verissimo got injured, it was harder to have the same amount of success. So that was definitely a key blow for them. But yeah, overall, I think that Jorge Jesus is definitely to blame for Benfica finishing third, but he's not the only reason.
Meanwhile, he's not young anymore. He will be 68 in July. Do you think he's ready for a new challenge in a completely different environment? I mean, Turkish league is very different than Portuguese league or Brazilian league. Is he ready for a new challenge?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, Fenerbahçe are sort of in similar ways in a similar situation to Benfica because they haven't won a league title for, 9 years. So I think that it's a good move for Jorge Jesus. He's going to be, a club that still regularly participates in European competition, and that has a lot of money to spend. So I think that it could work out a lot more. And I also think that, yes, I think that Jorge Jesus is a manager in decline. But with that being said, like I said, Porto and Sporting were both very good. They have better teams than Benfica. And I think that, going to Fenerbahçe, it's a good move for Jorge Jesus. I think that he needed a change in environment for sure.
However, in Turkish league, we have our big threes very similar to Portuguese league, and supporters of big three teams always demand an attacking football. Do you think that Jorge Jesus can bring attacking-minded team football to Fenerbahçe? Because I know he's very influenced by Cruyff style.
Yeah, I think he can. I think that he's shown that at Benfica and Sporting, that he's capable of it. So yeah, I don't have any issues with the way he sets up an attack. I mean, he's done a great job with that. He's done a great job with that in Flamengo as well. So I think that if he gets the right players, he could definitely set it up. But I also have concerns on the defense. I think that's one thing that, there were definitely a lot of question marks whether he can set up a defense well.
Right. Do you think that he would demand any heavy investment into the team? I mean, 5-6 players, new players to Fenerbahçe.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Like I said, I'm not too sure. I don't watch Turkish football, so I don't know what exactly Fenerbahçe need. I know that Mesut Özil is on his way out. But I mean, I could definitely see him bringing in an ex-Benfica player, potentially Haris Seferovic. I know that there were some links to Seferovic, so I could definitely see him bringing in a player that he managed at Flamengo or Benfica. I know that he tried to bring in Gerson from Flamengo. But he was unable to.
You told us about his attitude with the players, but how is it with the media, with the journalists?
I would say it's a bit similar. I mean, I think it's kind of he's a guy who is very confrontational, which is sort of the Portuguese nature. But so yeah, I think it's a bit similar in that regard.
Okay, Zach, thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you for your time.